For the final video of 2023, it will be Lincoln versus Ryan yet again. And to tell you the truth, this video is similar to the very first video that I've uploaded way earlier this year when it comes to the main characters. Though granted, there are changes, but at the same time, you wouldn't believe that these episodes are similar when it comes to the characters taking center stage in these episodes. Predictability in trend game centers around Lincoln trying to do different things, while Ryan is trying to keep up with the latest trends. Really feels awkward with these elements being different when it comes to Lincoln trying to be different, while Ryan is trying to do a different trend by following the latest. But as far as I'm concerned, the similarity centers around the characters not being left behind. Lincoln needs to change his routine in order to keep up with the other characters, due to the other characters not liking the way he does when it comes to doing the same thing over and over again. For Ryan, she goes to Carlota since that she checks on the latest trends after getting some inspiration after they hung out before Ryan shows the latest trends to her friends. When it came to Lincoln's position in predictability, he has to change into different clothes while doing something different in order to be unpredictable in front of everyone at his school. I'm gonna be really honest with you, these two episodes, regardless of what you feel of how the motivations from these characters may be a little off-putting, for me personally, it's not like doing these things is a bad thing, considering that people will probably criticize you for doing the same thing again. All the while, you'll probably be forgotten by not following the latest trend, even though I don't usually follow trends. Okay, some of them, but not all the time. The thing is, when it came to the Casagrandes episode, when it comes to Ryan's position, it really feels like the environment around her is a lot more different in comparison to the environment that she used to be in when it comes to Lincoln and the other characters. Now, before any of you ask, I am fully aware that they turned Ryan into a Lincoln clone, but a girl, which is honestly one of the biggest reasons onto why people just didn't give the spin-off a chance, which makes sense. And I can understand that there are still Ryan haters out there, but for me personally, if Ryan was the same character as she was before she moved, then I'm pretty sure that she would still deal with the situations, even if she doesn't need any help with her family when it comes to the latest trend. Having the plot centered around Ryan in her old persona when she spent her time at Lincoln School is one thing which I would probably don't mind seeing it, but if you really think about it, if Ryan was able to overcome all the odds, then I'm pretty sure that Nickelodeon probably wouldn't like her as a character. Like, if you're gonna say all you want that the changes of Ryan turning into Lincoln when it comes to her own spin-off is a problem, which it somewhat is, but considering that Nickelodeon need to make these changes in order to make Ryan likable, then I honestly don't know how they're going to please nearly every single person who used to hate Ryan. Though let's be real, as much as she didn't do what Lincoln did in predictability, it didn't change the fact that she had to find the latest trend every now and then rather than doing something different every single day. As far as I'm concerned, what Lincoln went through in predictability literally gave me the impression that with this being made right after Chris Savino got kicked out from the studio, I honestly thought that they were taking this episode seriously when it comes to the characters getting to know each other, and yet at the same time, this was also before Season 4 came around. This may be odd to think about, but the final episodes of Season 3, with Chris Savino having no part of it unless if he saw the drafts of these episode ideas, this episode somewhat unintentionally predicts the future of the Loud House doing different ideals, mainly the fantasy elements, and having more Lincoln and Friends episodes. Because as far as I'm concerned, Even though that what Lincoln did in this episode may be off-putting when it comes to the future of the Loud House, for me personally, this episode really sums up that if they just do the same thing over and over again, the audience probably wouldn't like it. And considering that's literally the point of view of Nickelodeon looking at the longer audience, mainly the kids who watch this, since that new kids have watched the later seasons of the Loud House with the older kids becoming older, I'm convinced that the people who worked on this show probably had a vision. Well, one of them had a dream, which was the same as Lincoln's dream in this, and it came to the conclusion that they can't be able to top of the message that they built in this episode when it comes to the characters after this episode or after the season. So they literally just recycle the same elements and not coming up with new ones. And even if it may be debatable if they were focusing on the kids audience rather than the other audience, I'm just gonna be honest with you, there's literally no escape on the fact that kids are mainly obsessed with the shows that they watch the most in comparison to original cartoons, or Nicktoons in this case, that deserves more attention due to the fact that it has an audience of their own. And when it comes to trends which Nickelodeon follows, I'm starting to convince that when they made Trend Game from the Casagrandes, they instantly foreshadowed on the fact that they just want the old cartoons, or the current cartoons, mainly Nickelodeon and the Loud House, to have different experimental elements, mainly the fantasy elements from the Loud House, and doing different things with the SpongeBob, especially its spin-offs. I really felt like that there was a lot more going on when it came to the focus of the Loud House and SpongeBob. And considering that the iCarly revival was cancelled nearly 2 months ago, well, almost 3 months ago, then I'm starting to convince that they can't be able to find any original concepts in order to make themselves look good in comparison to Cartoon Network and Disney Channel. While Cartoon Network is dealing with a struggle right now, Disney Channel really feels like a better alternative, while Nickelodeon is literally just being Nickelodeon, but still doing the same things as before. I think that one of the reasons onto why the ending of the Casagrandes, while entertaining, just isn't as good as the Loud House episode is mainly the fact that they're trying to do a lot of different things when it comes to the characters of a spin-off. And no matter what people think otherwise when they just don't put any effort into these seasons, at the same time, if it wasn't successful, it wouldn't have a second season. And the fact that this spin-off ended up getting 3 seasons is really saying something. And since that it's getting the movie somehow, then I'm really convinced that it's doing a lot more better in comparison to what I've seen, what other shows that have accomplished. Like Big City Greens is getting the movie just in development for way too long. And when it comes to the Loud House, when there's a possibility if there's going to be a sequel towards the Loud House movie, I don't even know how it's going to accomplish on the same lengths as the second Rugrats movie. I know I'm not talking about a lot when it comes to these 2 episodes and mostly focusing on the people working on the episodes, but the thing is, these 2 episodes, which I was planning to compare anytime soon until today, really gave me the impression that these 2 episodes were probably ahead of their time, but not in the right reasons of what people have been seeing in the later seasons, where it will lose its ideals, and the fact that with people just giving up on the show, they just couldn't be able to take this show seriously, and they just can't stick around forever. And the reason why I've been sticking around for after 2 years is, to tell you the truth, these 2 shows, while they have bad episodes here and there, aren't that harmful when it comes to how its execution towards the things that they do is literally affecting so many people. Like, I can tell that what Chris Savino did 6 years ago was harmful. And for anything that they did in these episodes, as much as I describe most of those elements in my Lincoln Loud video, keep in mind, I really had less to think about when it comes to the other episodes rather than focusing on the bad. And even if I'm gonna get to the bad, more bads from this show, as far as I'm concerned, the only bad that I see is mainly the backlash and the reaction, which somewhat makes sense, but at the same time, knowing full well that I've looked into it, there was literally nothing else we can do, and yet people are still going to do the backlash and wage towards the bad episodes no matter what. To be perfectly clear with you, when it came to the messages from these 2 episodes, in all honesty, if they actually took the words seriously, then as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure that this show will have been successful along with its spin-off. Believe me, what these 2 episodes have in common is the fact that it doesn't matter if you do the same thing again and again, and even though when people describe of how boring you are and it may be one of your closest friends, all I see is the fact that they just probably don't like that individual because they're not the same as them. Mainly Lincoln's sisters, which for me personally is literally the relatable we're ever going to see from the sisters from this episode. Granted, Lola may be critical when it came to Lincoln being the same as always, but at the same time, Lola is just basically the most difficult to work with when it comes to how her character is developed. And if you want to know onto why I see slight similarities in these 2 episodes, it's because in the Loud House, Loudest Yards episode, Lincoln was the main character, while in the Casagrandes episode, Longshot, Carlota, and Ryan are the main characters, with Carlota being mostly the main character, while in these 2 episodes, Lincoln is still the main character, and the only difference is that Ryan is the main character, while Carlota isn't much of a main character. She does help out Ryan, but still, and the only cuts that the Loud House has is Link Jr. and Rita aren't really the main characters that have the same treatment that they had from the Loudest Yard. It may not be a surprise to you people, but considering that the first Loud House video that I have uploaded this year got a lot of attention when it comes to 1,000 views, doing this as the final video of this year, which is a Loud House video, is honestly accurate because as far as I'm concerned, I've been looking into these 2 shows a lot more to the point that even if I'm not an expert, like some people who talked about this show, keep in mind, I need to do something different, and even though I've been doing this for a year and a half ago, or more than a year and a half ago since I started this in May 2022, I just don't always have the same opinion like everyone else, even when it came to the bad episodes. As for Clyde being afraid of Lincoln changing, to tell you the truth, knowing full well that they made Clyde this way, and the fact that he changed his character a lot more as the series progressed, even if he had flannerization, I really felt like that the wage that he has in all the wage is mainly accurate on just trying to add something new to his character, and then just seeing him, you can honestly tell that they're trying a little too hard to make Clyde the same character, though at the same time the fans just think otherwise. To be really honest with you, if you want to qualify these episodes as part of the Chris Savino era, despite Chris Savino having no participation in this episode, despite checking the drafts, then I need to be truthful. I really felt like that this episode could have been a lot more if it took itself seriously when it came to the progression of the later seasons. Which, for me personally, the Loud House episode is a better example in comparison to the Casagrandes episode. Like, the Casagrandes episode is good for what it is, but rewatching predictability, I really felt like I need to compare it to the Casagrandes episode, but also give my own opinion on the episode, knowing full well that sometimes when you don't predict the future, you end up getting disappointment after disappointment, and all you see is I wait from so many people, which for me personally, it's becoming a lot more overrated. I'm just saying this right now that I just grew out of the critiques centering around the shows, and whenever I look at the critiques, I mostly felt uncomfortable. But that's just mainly me just looking into the critiques of what I enjoy from YouTubers, but that was a long time ago, and now it'll probably change. I don't know when I'm gonna stop making these videos when it comes to Loud Tales and Casagrandes material, but as far as I'm concerned, like I said in the past, I basically seen everything after seeing the critiques and criticisms towards this show, and over time, I honestly got over those critiques, even if they may be useful, but as far as I'm concerned, having a different perspective like Steam Team WK really shows that there was a lot more going on. Granted, I do not agree with all of his opinions, but at the same time, being civilized is something that this fandom just doesn't have when it comes to taking out on the bad episodes, even if their opinions may be accurate. So with that being said, I'm giving predictability an 8 out of 10, while the Casagrandes trend game gets a 7 out of 10. See you all in 2024 and have yourself a happy new year. And I just hope I have another happy new year like this year was.